New Mexico, 1959. A film set baking under the desert sun. Hundreds of extras wait in the heat. Most of them are Native American, hired for their faces, paid almost nothing, expected to stand still, look distant, and disappear into the background. One man is not disappearing into the background today. His name is Thomas. He is 61 years old, a Navajo elder. He has been standing in the same spot for 4 hours without water. His costume is wrong, too tight around the chest. He reaches up quietly to loosen the collar. Thomas has done this before. Not this film. Other films, other sets, other deserts that look exactly like his home but aren't. He has learned the rules. You arrive early. You stand where they point. You do not speak unless spoken to. You collect your $12 at the end of the day, and you do not complain because there are 40 men behind you who will take your place without hesitation. He has fed his family this way. He has swallowed things this way. He is very good at swallowing things. And that is when the producer sees him. The producer walks over fast. His face is already red. Don't touch the costume. Do you understand me? You don't move until I say move. Thomas says nothing. He lowers his hands. He stares at the ground. The producer leans in closer. You people need to understand how this works. You are here because we allow you to be here. The set goes quiet. 60, 70 people standing within earshot. Everyone looking down, nobody moving except one man. Marlon Brando is standing 40 feet away near the camera equipment. He has been watching. He has heard every word. He has been watching the producer all morning actually, the way he moves through the set, the way he talks to the wardrobe assistants, the way he looks through people instead of at them. Marlon Brando has spent his entire life studying faces. He knows exactly what kind of man this is before a single word is spoken. He starts walking. But to understand what Marlon Brando does next, you need to understand something first. Something most people don't know. Go back. 1924, Omaha, Nebraska. Marlon Brando grows up in a house where silence means danger. His father is hard, demanding, the kind of man who sees emotion as weakness. Young Marlon watches everything. He stores it. He becomes an expert at reading rooms, reading people, reading the exact moment when someone's dignity is being taken from them. He gets expelled from military school at 17, not because he is stupid, because he refuses to perform obedience for people who haven't earned his respect. He arrives in New York with almost nothing. He digs ditches. He sleeps on floors. He finds Stella Adler and method acting, and something in him catches fire. Stella tells him, don't pretend, feel it, live it. He never forgets that. By the early 1950 seconds, Marlon Brando is the most dangerous actor alive. A streetcar named Desire. Viva Zapata, the wild one. He does not act. He erupts. He makes the camera lean in. But something else is growing in him alongside the fame. A fury. Not at the cameras, not at the scripts, at the system, at who gets protected, at who gets erased. He starts reading, studying. He talks to activists. He donates money quietly. He shows up to places where his presence costs him something. People in Hollywood think it is a phase. It is not a phase. New Mexico, 1959. The same desert set. Marlon Brando walks across the sand toward the producer. He does not walk fast. He does not look angry. He looks completely calm, which is somehow worse. He stops between the producer and Thomas the Navajo elder. He does not raise his voice. Say that again. The producer blinks. Excuse me? What you just said to him. Say it again. Silence. The producer looks around. The cameras are not rolling. The crew is watching. Nobody steps in. I was just maintaining. You were not maintaining anything. Marlon Brando's voice is low, quiet, like something pressed down under enormous weight. You were humiliating a man who has been standing in this heat for 4 hours, while you sat in a chair under an umbrella, and you called it work. The producer's face changes. Something behind his eyes recalculates. He tries to smile. Brando, let's not make this into something it isn't. Marlon Brando turns away from him. He turns to Thomas. He extends his hand. I'm Marlon. I'm sorry you were spoken to that way. Thomas looks at the hand, then at the face. Then he shakes it. Marlon Brando turns back to the producer. Still quiet, still calm. This man needs water. He needs a chair. And he needs an apology. In that order. If those 3 things don't happen in the next 5 minutes, I walk off this set and I don't come back. A seven-figure contract, a major studio production, dozens of crew members depending on the shoot. He means every word. Everyone on that set can feel it. The producer stares at him for a long moment. Then he calls for water. A production assistant brings a chair, then a bottle, sets them down next to Thomas without making eye contact with anyone. The producer mutters something that passes for an apology. Thomas accepts it without expression. He has learned how to accept things without expression. The rest of the crew goes back to work. Nobody says anything, but something has shifted. You can feel it in the way people move, a little slower, a little more careful, like the air pressure on the set has changed. Marlon Brando walks back to his mark. He says nothing to anyone. He doesn't need to. But wait, here's where the story gets deeper. Because Marlon Brando doesn't stop there. That evening, after filming wraps, he finds Thomas sitting alone outside the makeshift holding area for extras. He sits down beside him on the dirt, not nearby, beside him. They talk for 2 hours. Thomas tells him about the Navajo nation, about the land, about what has been taken, about what is still being taken every single day in quiet ways that newspapers don't cover and films don't show. He tells him about the film industry specifically, how Native Americans have been playing their own people as caricatures for decades, how Hollywood builds entire mythologies around them and never once asks if the mythology is true, how the men and women who show up as extras on sets like this one are standing inside a version of themselves that someone else invented, and they have no choice but to stand there, because $12 is $12. Marlon Brando listens. He does not perform listening. He actually listens. He asks questions, real questions. He takes nothing from that conversation except understanding. At some point, Thomas goes quiet. He looks at Marlon Brando directly for the first time. He says, "Why did you do that today? You didn't have to." Marlon Brando is quiet for a long moment. Then he says, "I had a father who made me feel like Thomas felt today, every single day, and nobody walked over." Thomas nods slowly. Nothing else needs to be said. What he gives Thomas before he leaves is a phone number, a contact at a civil rights organization he has been quietly supporting with his own money. Nobody on the film crew knows this happens. Nobody knows for years. Here's the thing about Marlon Brando that Hollywood could never quite process. He kept score of a different currency. By 1959, he is one of the highest paid actors on earth. He can walk into any room. He can demand anything. The machine will bend for him because the machine needs him, and he uses that, deliberately, surgically, not for bigger trailers, not for better billing, for moments exactly like the one in that New Mexico desert. He understands something that most powerful people never figure out. Power you don't use for someone else is just weight you carry. It doesn't make you bigger, it just makes you heavier, so he keeps using it. He joins the march on Washington. He stands in the crowd, not on the stage, next to James Baldwin and Harry Belafonte. The cameras find him anyway. He does not wave. He gets arrested at a civil rights demonstration in Tennessee. He posts his own bail. He says nothing to the press. He wins the Academy Award for Best Actor for The Godfather, the most celebrated comeback in cinema history, the most powerful man in Hollywood at that exact moment. He sends Sacheen Littlefeather to that stage instead. She is an Apache activist. She stands at the microphone in front of the entire industry. She reads a statement about the treatment of Native Americans in film and in American life. Her voice does not shake. She is completely still under those lights, facing an audience that paid thousands of dollars for their seats, holding a piece of paper that Marlon Brando wrote with his own hands. The crowd boos. Some cheer. Most don't know what to do. Marlon Brando is not there. He is watching from home, and he feels something close to peace. Because he remembered Thomas. He remembered that desert. He remembered what it looks like when someone's dignity is taken from them while everyone else looks at the ground. And he decided, 14 years earlier in the sand, that he was never going to be one of the people looking at the ground. The film wrapped. The producer finished his career making forgettable studio pictures. His name is not remembered. Thomas went home to New Mexico. He told the story of that afternoon to his grandchildren, not as a story about a famous actor, as a story about what it looks like when someone with something to lose chooses to use it. Years later, one of Thomas's granddaughters wrote it down. A short piece. A family memory. She posted it online in 2005, 1 year after Marlon Brando died. It spread quietly at first, then faster. Thousands of people shared it, not because of the famous name in it, because of the feeling in it, because somewhere in that story about a desert set and a glass of water and a chair, people recognized something they had either witnessed or needed to witness. A moment when someone decided that looking away was no longer acceptable. Thomas himself was gone by then. He died in 1991. He never saw what that afternoon became. Marlon Brando went on to become the most influential actor who ever lived. Robert De Niro said it. Al Pacino said it. Every actor who came after him, who ever tried to find the truth inside a character rather than perform a version of it, they all followed the path he cut. But the path didn't start on a Broadway stage. It didn't start at the actor's studio. It started somewhere earlier, in a house in Omaha, where a boy learned to watch people, to read the exact moment when dignity disappears, to feel it in his own body before anyone taught him what to call it. Method acting is just the name for what he already knew. Don't pretend, feel it, live it, and when you see it happening to someone else, don't look at the ground, walk over. There is a photograph of Marlon Brando. He is standing at the edge of a film set. The lighting is low and golden. His hands are loose at his sides. He is not looking at the camera. He is looking somewhere off to the left, at something the frame doesn't show. His expression is completely unreadable. Not angry, not peaceful. Something heavier and quieter than either. The face of a man who has already decided what matters, and made his peace with what it costs. That is Marlon Brando. That is who he was when nobody was watching. And it turns out that was the most important performance of his life. Do not follow the rules. Destroy them. If this story moved you, share it. Leave a comment below with one word that describes Marlon Brando to you. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next chapter of the most dangerous life in Hollywood history. Pass it on.